The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Mark. The disciples of John and of the Pharisees were accustomed to fast. People came to Jesus and objected, "Why do the disciples of John and the disciples of the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast?" Jesus answered them, "Can the wedding guests fast while the bridegroom is with them? As long as they have the bridegroom with them, they cannot fast. But the days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and then they will fast on that day. No one sews a piece of unshrunken cloth on an old cloak. If he does, its fullness pulls away the new from the old, and the tear gets worse. Likewise, no one pours new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, the wineskin will burst the skins, and both the wine and the skins are ruined. Rather, new wine is poured into fresh wineskins." The Gospel of the Lord. The motive of a wedding feast or a banquet at a wedding feast is something that comes up time and again in the scriptures, and it reaches its culmination in the New Testament. And St. John, the evangelist, would actually present Jesus to the world, manifesting himself, his glory, and his powers, his identity, during a wedding feast, precisely because Jesus in his person is the wedding of the divine and the human, the wedding of heaven and earth. And that is why Jesus would argue, when in my person I am the wedding, how could my disciples fast so long as I am with them? But the real teaching is this. The Old Testament is brought to a completion, and as Jesus comes bursting onto the scene, the new begins. And as we always say, the old order changes and gives place to new, or at least it should. And so, Jesus presents his teaching in a new light, in a new way, in a way that is novel, innovative, creative, and certainly shocking to the Pharisees and to the Jews of that time. And so, there is what we could call resistance or opposition or rebellion. When the old order changes, giving place to new, there is always a resistance. My dear sisters and brothers, and that is why Jesus would use those two parables. You are familiar with wine and wineskins. I don't need to talk to you about this because we are in California, and you are familiar with wine and its familiar ways. Grape wine is usually stored, at least in Jesus' time, in wineskins. And because the grape wine is fresh juice, it ferments and it expands. And if the wineskin is old, the wine would actually burst it, and both the skin and the wine are lost. And that is why that insistence that new wine or new grape should be poured into new wineskin. And the other parable that Jesus uses, you and I pick up clothes from now and then. And as you throw them into the washing machine, it comes out usually 1 or 2 sizes smaller. It shrinks. And then slowly, when it develops a tear, you don't put a new piece of cloth to patch that tear. And if you do, that new patch will again shrink and will destroy the coat or the cloak or the cloth. The moral that Jesus drives home is this: my teaching is new, my way is new, and you have to reinvent yourself, transform your hearts and minds to embrace my way. And so today, as we go through this Eucharist, and also as we celebrate the Memorial Day of Martin Luther King Jr., we need to ask ourselves as individuals and as a nation, what is this new way that God is presenting us with? Where does the old order change and give place to new? How do we prepare our minds and hearts to receive what God has in store for us as individuals, as families, and as a people, the American people? During the course of the Eucharist, let's pray that hearts may be healed and there may be peace and harmony in our nation. I remember the words of that Italian film producer who said, "We are all angels with one wing only, and we can fly together by embracing one another." Or also the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. comes to my mind. Let's learn to live as sisters and brothers or perish as fools. Strong words, words that might hurt, but a truth that you and I need to hear. It's about time that we started naming the demons in our midst, meaning the evils that we find in our own hearts, in our own homes, and on our streets, because unless we name the evils, we cannot really tame them. And in some way, each of us is part of the problem out there. And if you and I do not choose and decide to be a part of the solution, we are aligning ourselves to be part of the problem. And so, let's pray for peace, for harmony, for justice, for equality. Let's pray that our nation will continue to be one nation under God, and that in God she will always be trusting. And let's pray that she will continue to be the shining city built on a hilltop.